Hello and welcome to the Lyman Lipke Guitarcast. I am your host, Lyman Lipke. It's the Q&A episode. I'm getting better at speedrunning this housekeeping stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe if you haven't. If you're listening on Spotify, please follow if you haven't. You can join my not-so-secret club. It's like an email list. All I need is your email address, and I'll send you some free tab. Among other goodies that are going out from time to time. And as always, available for lessons. One-on-one and group lessons are starting back up again very soon. So, what I've got in my hands today, and I want to, make this quick, because I got a bunch of questions, and they're all actually... Well, most of them are really good. But I'll talk about this a little bit. I'll do my usual anecdote, and then I'll talk about the guitar I'm going to play for today. This is my my jazz bass. I just rewound the pickups. So this one's about 8K. This one's about 8.5 Alnico 3 magnets, and I'm quite happy with how it sounds. I think it's going to give me that good, rock tone. It's also real nice, the slap sound. And I can get the Jocko thing. But I'll play a little bit of this thing that I've been transcribing. Big bonus points if you can tell me what that is. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the sound of this bass. I am not happy with the neck. It is very flimsy feeling. So maybe I'll replace the truss rod, get a different neck. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. So my anecdote for today, before we jump into the questions, I've been finding myself on Facebook as of late, and that's just a cesspool. I get a lot of baseball stuff in my feed, and something popped up talking about the 2002 Cy Young race. Barry Zito versus Pedro Martinez. By all accounts, Pedro probably pitched better. But Barry Zito won the award. And I can understand the reasons why. He won a bunch of games that year. He won 23 games, 24 games, something like that. And he played for the Oakland Athletics, who had a historic run. It was actually the Moneyball season, which, is a sort of feel-good movie, real underdog story. When I watch it, it's like a horror movie, because I'm a Seattle Mariners fan, and they collapsed that year, and Oakland just leapfrogged, and then Anaheim or Boston, I can't remember, one of those two teams made the playoffs. Mariners won 93 games that year. Didn't make the playoffs. I can go on forever about baseball, but let's go back to the issue at hand. Barry Zito pitched more games. I believe Pedro Martinez pitched 30 games that year, and Barry pitched 35 games that year. So, like, I did a little, calculation. If Pedro Martinez pitched at the same pace he was pitching for the for 5 additional games that year, he would have had more wins above replacement, more total wins, and he would have just been better in all of the stats. And so I left a comment that said that because I play jazz. I'm a nerd. I think statistics are cool. And here's what grinds my dang gears. False equivalencies. Like, these no talent ass clowns. Like, well, if I hit 800 home runs, I'd be the home run king. Can't think about what if. Well, if you hit 800 home runs in the major leagues, yeah, you'd be the home run king. But if you hit 1 home run in the major leagues, Pedro Martinez pitched 30 games at a very high level that year. It was in the realm of possibility that he could have pitched 5 more games that year. I wasn't following Boston too much in 2002. There is a much higher likelihood that Pedro Martinez could pitch 35 games rather than 30 games than your stupid ass could hit 800 home runs. Those two things they're apples and oranges. It's a false equivalency. So I deleted Facebook off of my home screen. Like, I just not screwing with it anymore. I think I'll be better for it. So, the guitar I've got today. It's my Talman, my Ibanez Talman Artcore TM71. And I have replaced the pickups in it once more. I've got holeless humbuckers. Like, they're just solid. I really like how those look. And I've wound some PAF, like, inspired. And PAF inspired pickups. PAFs were machine wound. I found out. So, I am not heart surgeon number 1. I do not have steady hand. So there's no way I'm going to get close to a machine wind. But I was able to get close to the resistances of the PAF. And my inductance was just a little bit lower. We'll talk about what those things mean a little bit. Like, I've said this before, winding a pickup is easy. Winding the same pickup twice is incredibly difficult. And that's what that's why you pay these pickup companies big money, because you're gonna get the thing that sounds like the thing you want, the thing you've heard. My pickups will be for sale relatively soon. And my pickups probably will not be super consistent. However, I am building a special guitar to test pickups without having to solder anything. I'm building a couple of mounting devices, and then I can just, screw the pickups in, put the board into this hole that I'm putting in the guitar, and then boom, it'll work. So like I'll test all of the pickups, and like I'll post them to, I don't know, a highlight reel or a highlight section, like in stories. You can see what's available, and if you like the sound of one of the sets of pickups, you can buy that set or one of the pickups. Like, and so you know exactly what you're getting. So yeah, I'm not trying to get rich over here. I'm just trying to fund the hobby so my wife doesn't get upset at me buying a bunch of like new pickup crap. All right, 11 minutes in. Let's get to some questions. First question, Music by Camden asks how to really use arpeggios and enclosures together. Over changes. I accidentally cut the bottom off. This is a very, very good question. I mean, right there. That was an enclosure, arpeggio, enclosure, enclosure. I can do that idea. Arpeggio into enclosure into arpeggio into enclosure from any scale degree. I can do that in all my positions as well. In theory. That is a lot of practice to go through, making sure you have all of those things down. But, you can break that down. Practicing your arpeggios in position, practicing your enclosures in position. And I've got some documents coming up for sale on the Tab Store on enclosures specifically. So my main, this isn't really talking about how to use them. We'll get into that in a sec. But to explain like my enclosure system, I've explained it before, like on this podcast, and I believe in a video. So it's basically scales and thirds with extra steps. And the second note of the third and the first note of the second third. The space between those notes determines what chromaticism we use. That distance to whole step, we surround above and below. Where else do we have a whole step? Right here. When the distance is a half step, we play up the third, go back down, and go up chromatically. And as a student who was getting quite confused because there's two wider intervals, your major thirds and your minor thirds, or your two whole steps and your step and a halves. These two minor thirds behave differently because the middle note here is a half step below. So I play this phrase. The middle note here, whole step below. So I play this. That's the gist of my 5-note enclosure rules. To take that a step further and a step back as well, they exist in my formations. You have a enclosure for formation 1, which is 2 whole steps. Formation 3, which is whole step, half step. I call it formation 3 because I use my third finger in addition to the fingers that rock. I shouldn't do that. Formation 3. And formation 2 are fingers 1, 2, and 4. So the fingers that rock and also probably shouldn't do that one. 1, 2, 4. Those are as they exist on one string. So whole step, half step, whole step, half step. 1, 2, 3. I also call those, if you cross a string, I call them formational interval sets. So this is formation 1 on one string. This is formation 1 with 2 notes on the low string. We have another qualifier here, crossing the B string. So formation 1 interval set, 2 on low, crossing the B string. Formation 1 interval set, 2 on low, on a fourths string pair. Same pitches, different fingerings. So if you break down the enclosures, there are only 5 possible fingerings for each formation and each formation interval set. 2 on high, crossing the B string. 2 on low, crossing the B string. 2 diatonic notes on the high string. 2 diatonic notes on the low string. All on one string. 2 on high in fourths. 2 on low in fourths. 5 fingerings. And we have lost my camera. This is the second time this has happened. Maybe even the third time. So 2 on high, crossing B. 2 on low, crossing B. On one string. 2 on high fourths. 2 on low fourths. We have an enclosure fingering that goes with each one of those. Those are the most usable fingerings that you will ever see on the guitar for 2 whole steps using my 5-note enclosure rules. So this is a formation 1 interval set on one string, formation 1 interval set on a fourths pair, 2 on low. So getting those shapes down, like, I mean, you can spend a day with each set, like interval set. Just to get comfortable with those moves. And the next day you can move to that would be I don't like that because it uses an open string. Let's use this one. Cool, that's all 5 for formation 2. Formation 3. 2 on high, crossing B. 2 on low, crossing B. On one string. 2 on high in fourths. 2 on low in fourths. And that's all 15 possible ways you could finger that. So, once you're very, very comfortable with those shapes, you can work on string pairs. There's only 2 different types of string pairs for adjacent strings on the guitar. Our strings tuned in fourths and the G and B. So, That's all 7 positions of the string pair G and B. You can also do it on a 4th string set. I just so happened to choose, when I documented this, D and G. It's all 7 positions on the 4th set. And it doesn't matter which set you're on, you're going to have all those shapes. That exists right here. Same fingerings. So if you get the 4th set and the G and B down, you can combine them. So that's how I would practice my enclosures, if I could do it again. I did it just in all 7 positions. That's how I did it. Which led to a little bit more pain. Emotional, not physical. So if we play it just on 3 strings, we're eliminating 1, 2, 3 string pairs. So that's more than half. Like we're maybe exactly half. I think exactly half. If you go through all 7 positions, you will have practiced every single possible enclosure move. So, how do we put this to changes? If we're playing a 5-note enclosure rule, say I'm aiming for D minor, maybe from something like A7. On beat 3, I can play 1 step below any chord tone. 1, 2, 3. And that will land me on the chord tone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. On the downbeat. Do that. I started a step below the 3rd. I can do a step below the root. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You can also play C sharp. And then I can do the 5th as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I can also omit the 1st note if I want to play something that starts on an upbeat. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1. So I was enclosing around an arpeggio. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Either one of those is probably acceptable. And then I'm enclosing around the notes of a D minor triad. 1, 2, 3. And then I ended the line on an arpeggio. So if you're enclosing to a chord tone, you can play an arpeggio. Let's see. Arpeggios also have thirds in them, usually. a diatonic seventh chord is 3/3 stacked on top of each other. So, that's a downbeat. I've got a third right here, so I can play an enclosure. There it was again, arpeggio into enclosure. So, if you know all of your arpeggios well enough, and all of your enclosures well enough, you should be able to put them on the proper beats on any chord tone. So that's how you use enclosures and arpeggios together over changes. Love to hear some non-2516 chord examples from standards. Turnaround to 2 is great. That's from Have You Met Miss Jones? But at the real book, it just has a bar of F major and then F sharp diminished when it's 1, 4, 3, 6 dominant, or 5 of 2. And that leads to the 2 chord. I could also play something descending dominant chords. Also play something like this. Those are almost all interchangeable. So as long as everybody's on the same page with what your default set of changes for a particular tune on a turnaround to 2 will be, you'll be in good shape. And really, like, you can improvise any of those, like over any of those in your head against. So, like, let's loop that up real quick, and then I'll play a 5 chord to sort of get us out of it. So those are nice ways to, like, almost get outside sounds. Familiarize yourself with turnarounds to 2. I'll just list off a bunch of them. 1, 4, and that can be major or dominant. 3, 6, and that can be minor or dominant. 1, 7 dominant, flat 7 dominant, 6 dominant, 1, 2, 3, 6, and any dominant chord in these, you can tritone sub, and that's where we get. So that's a cool turnaround to 2. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, flat 3, that can be minor or diminished. This guitar needs either a level and crown. The frets are pretty low, or a re-fret, because my fifth fret on the E string is just dying. And that's one of my favorite notes. That's A. I've memorized that note. It's the first note of Bye Bye Blackbird. It's what I use to trick people into thinking I have perfect pitch sometimes. Do. So, back to the subject. Turnarounds to 2. That's a great chord progression that's not just 2-5-1. You put them like Girl from Ipanema. You put a turnaround to 2 in that tune. Let's see what this one sounds like. Interesting. But I've heard that played before. Etc. etc. Good question. Thank you, Spoon-Fed. Playing through the changes while maintaining musicality and phrasing. It's a very, very broad question. I think a good exercise for this is to be able to play just a consistent stream of eighth notes. Not necessarily thinking about the changes. I want a different sound. I think my Veilton has died. That's fine. That's fine. We'll fix it. Do a clean Fender reverb. Let's turn down the bass as well. Oh yeah, I'm liking that sound. So I'll just play, I'll loop up a 1-6-2-5 and do some things that aren't exactly fitting the changes, but are sort of exercises. And then I'll just try to keep a consistent stream of eighth notes going without trying to put too many rests or triplets in. 2, 3, 4. So none of that. I was thinking changes. None of that. I was thinking patterns and exercises. Like, really. Like, can you make that sound musical? just as an exercise. And can you flow through that exercise without having to stop? And then from there, can you pivot? So, it played that. I call it a 4-3-2-1 digital pattern into an enclosure. I did a lot of Barry Harris chromatic. So that's like sort of just a technique thing, and a hands thing. Just being able to play those ideas without stopping, or without something like a wrench getting thrown into the gears. Which is one thing I hear a lot, especially with new jazz improvisers. They're trying to make the changes, and the brain is just turning, and they sort of lose their fluidity. So if you can just be fluid while the changes are happening, and get very, very comfortable with those sorts of ideas. The point where like those exercises are second nature, and then you can study like, okay, I'm enclosing the 5th of the scale. What chord tone is this? Well, it's the 5 of C, it's the 11 of D minor, it's the 3rd of E minor, it's the 9th of F, it's the root of G, it's the 7th of A, and it's the flat 6th of B. So, like, landing there, I'm landing on the 5th. Let's take it up an octave. Like I'm landing on the 11th. Landing on the 3rd. Landing on the 9th. Landing on the root. Landing on the 7th. Landing on the flat 6. So once you have the fluidity, then you can, focus on, okay, where are my chord tones? Because all of these notes are chord tones for things in C. Are they good chord tones? Not always. But, you can justify a bunch of these as chord tones. And a quick way to do that, take the degree. And if your degree is an even number, add 7. So F, G, that's the 2, add 7, 9. So this is the 9th of F, the natural 9th. So once you've got the hands thing down, and once you can apply those things to changes, then you can start to, think phrasing. Like, how do I create a phrase with these ideas? And you can bypass all that, like try to transcribe and find phrases that work over certain chords. But I want everything to be available everywhere, all the time on the guitar. That's huge. Like, I'd play that over the 2 chord. Going to a 5 chord. That's a nice phrase. Really. Down a D minor 7 arpeggio, which is a 2 chord, to the 3rd of G, G7. So, to learn how to play over the changes musically and with good phrasing, learn how to play musically, learn how to play with good phrasing, and then learn how to play over the changes. And work on your fluidity. That will help everything. I hope that answers your question somewhat. Let's go to my story. Gonna ask some questions there. Would love to hear pickup winding variables and how they affect the sound too. So I'm pretty new at this. I'm still doing a lot of study. But basically, how we call it the traverse. How we're holding the wire as the bobbin spins. If we do something very even, keep all the windings very, very even, is the opposite of scatterwound. Scatterwound is when you're moving a little bit faster, changing the speed. Why we scatterwind is to increase the inductance or decrease the inductance. If we just very tightly try to machine wind it, we'll have a very high inductance. And the higher the inductance, the more high end we lose. So the lower the inductance, the more high end we retain. And that goes into resistance as well, which is like the amount of wire and the gauge that we use. So the amount of wire, the gauge we use, and how we're traversing the coil across the bobbin. That is the main sort of, that's what I'm looking at right now. And I have some ideas for further testing. Because there's things like resonant peak, which I think you can probably calculate like the general ballpark of where that's going to be through resistance and inductance. So TLDR, as far as I'm concerned, as I know at this point, the more random you wind the coil, the more high end you will have. So that's mainly what I'm looking at right now is resistance and inductance. And what I did to reach those, the values that I ended up at. And I want to get one of those little contact speakers. The things that you put on other things and it makes the other thing vibrate and act like a speaker. If I get something that has a decent frequency response or something that I can understand, like the how the frequency response of that little contact speaker behaves and what it does. I can play pink noise and just put it over the pickup at a consistent height. And that should give me data to see what frequencies are being accentuated as I continue on my pickup journey. And the pickup testing guitar is going to be huge too, because I can just make demos of each pickup and for myself as well, so I can just listen to see if I can hear a difference. They told me this thing was tuned at the factory, but it wasn't. There we go. That feels good. So, again, I'm still pretty new with this, but I'm trying to take detailed notes of every pickup that I build, and see if I can repeat those things. So, that's my answer for now. It may change tomorrow. It will probably change a week from now, and it will definitely change a month from now as I get more information. Somebody asks 251 or 1645, which is superior? I'm going to say 251. I thought, because of my music dyslexia, the original question was 1564. And to me, that's a little bit closer. Like, as much as I love 251, cannot argue with this progression. Like there's so many songs. It's so versatile. It's a great canvas to paint over and tell your story. That's 1645. Which really, if we play 1, 6, 2, 5, these two chords are very similar. So pretty similar to me, but I'm gonna go with 251 because I can put a C sharp over the D minor. It doesn't sound as weird if I, alter the 5 chord. Interesting question. Got a really, really good one here. That's I need to pull it up because I want to read it as is, as it was written. How do you balance work on your career with work on your raw skills? This is a very, very good question. I would make an argument that working on your raw skills is also work for your career. So you should always be doing that. If you play better, you're likely to get more opportunities. But that is not the only career skill. So there are other things we have to work on. And, they're probably a little bit harder. One, people skills. Like being a decent human being to be around. I've played with great players that I never want to see again for the rest of my life because I didn't like being around them. So practicing like being a person of your word. If you say something, do that thing. This means nothing unless there's some action behind it. And I've had people try to argue that. Like, what comes out of here has no bearing on what comes out of here. I'll ask another question. How many times have you gotten together with a friend and said, oh yeah, we should start a band? Because that's happened with me hundreds of times. And probably at least 50 of those I actually wanted to do. Just never got around to doing it. So I stopped asking that question or proposing that statement to other musicians and friends. Hey, we should start a band. Because I've discovered I'm probably not going to make that happen. So if I receive that question, I respond with, set it up. Set up a game plan. And one of my favorite quotes is from Mike Ehrmantraut in Better Call Saul. You tell me what you got, I'll tell you what I'll do. That's how I live. Like, if somebody wants me to play on their gig, actually, we'll cut this. We'll make this into a reel. 5 things that you should tell your other musicians if you're a band leader before any gig. 1, what the music is. A lot of times it's probably self-evident if you've been playing together for a while, but pretty necessary if you're doing sub work. 2, what does it pay? That's a big one. Like, the music and the pay, like, I definitely need to know that before I make any sort of decisions. Like, I hate getting the text, hey, you free for a gig? Like, I don't know. You tell me what you got, I'll tell you what I'll do. You know, sometimes it's like 2 hours, $300. You know, I'll play polka for 2 hours for $300. Like that's a pretty decent hourly rate. It's like jazz standards, very improvisation heavy, $40. Like, I'll take that gig too, because I like the music, and I could probably fill my gas tank with the $40 I receive. $25, all of my original music at a coffee shop, 3 hours. I'm not doing that. So, 1, what's the music? 2, what's the pay? We'll just blow through these next few. 3, what's the dress? What am I supposed to wear? Like, that is very important. A guy got mad at me because I wore like a full suit, except I wasn't wearing a button up and a tie. I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I was at a country club. I'm like, dude, like, I got the jacket, I got the pants. We're not in a big city. Nobody cares about us. He didn't tell me what the dress was. So I'm putting that on him. 4, what time do I have to be there? That is very important. And 5, where is it? Like, give me a dang address. And don't give me directions. Like, if I am very, very bad with directions. If you want to give me anything, give me GPS coordinates. Because I can figure that out. But if you start listing off landmarks, I'm already lost. I get lost very easily. So, 1, what's the music? 2, what's the pay? 3, what do you wear? 4, what time do I gotta be there? 5, where is it? And bonus one, 6, who's it with. There are gigs I won't take if certain people are on them. Like, it's like 1 through 5 could be great, but if they're just a handful of people. If any of those guys are on the gig, like, oh no, I'm not doing it. Find somebody else. And that goes back to being a decent person to hang out around. Another skill you need is like networking. Like, be able to make friends, or at least make professional contacts. You can do that by being a part of your local scene, going to shows, meeting the musicians, meeting the music lovers. And musicians are weird folk, so like, be sure to have your feelers up, because many a time I've been asked to be in a startup like rehearsal band that wants to rehearse twice a week. There are no gigs on the horizon. And I've gotten pretty good at sussing out, like, if that's going to be the scenario within like a couple minutes of talking to a person. There'll be people that might try to take advantage of you. And I mean, there are probably situations where I'm getting taken advantage of. But I understand it, I see it, and I'm allowing it until like that that thing. I no longer want to do that thing. I only do music related projects if I want to these days. And there are varying degrees of reasons like I would want to. Pay, people, music. Those are the big three. You can also network on social media. Don't be a spammer or a follow back girl. A few times I've been around that track. Make good content that other musicians would enjoy. And really ask yourself, like, why would anybody want to watch this? And if you've got something good, like something with substance, you have to package it well to fit the constraints of the algorithms. And you also need to be consistent with it. Like, I feed the algorithm. There's a bunch of crap that I post that I'm like, no, I can understand if this got like 2 views. But fortunately, I've built a following, and I'll post something that, just to let these apps know I'm still here, I'm still doing stuff, to gain favor in the algorithm. So when I do have something that is valuable, and I think I've packaged well and has good information in it, or something entertaining in it, it'll do well. But I mean, I've seen this from so many profiles. Like, somebody's trying to do the whole like social media thing, and I'll like scroll through and I'll see like there was a good solid like 3 weeks where they were posting every day, and then after that, like they stopped posting, and it's always like videos of them playing. It's like okay quality, but nothing jumps out at my eyes or ears. So you have to capture somebody's attention on social media within the first 2 seconds. That's something I haven't been too good at as of late, but it's the plan to get back there. So network, be a good person. Those are all things in addition to working on your craft, which is also a huge part of your career. I've seen guys say, "Man, I just wish I had an opportunity. If I had the opportunity, I'd make it." And maybe, but probably not. If you get the opportunity, you have to show up. You have to bring it 100%. Like if you misstep when you get a good opportunity, like first impressions are huge. My pops and I were talking like playing for other musicians is the worst. If you play bad in front of another musician, it's the first time they saw you, like you suck, and they're gonna think you suck forever. I played with a guy once, like for a rehearsal, and I was in the middle of moving, like, and I said, I can meet for this rehearsal. Like, I haven't had too much time to look at the charts he sent out a few days ago because I've been packing up all of my stuff and I've been moving. I don't know if he like just didn't care, but like I showed up and I didn't play all that great, and then for the rest of forever, that guy thinks I suck. Like he called off the gig. Because he didn't want to embarrass himself in front of other musicians. And it's funny because I heard the musicians that he didn't want to embarrass himself in front of, like, talking crap about him. So I don't like you specifically. That dude's never gonna watch this. Good player, but because I didn't bring it that day, that's stuck in his mind, and now I suck forever, which is fine. Like, I was happy to do the gig, but like I was also happy to have the night off. So those are work on your craft. Show up when you get the opportunity. Let's go back to the questions from the broadcast channel. And if you're, I was going to plug the broadcast channel, but if you're listening this far in the podcast, I have the broadcast channel. You can find it on my Instagram page. A little group chat. I ask questions every week. Or I answer your questions every week. Asking if 3 notes per string method fits over caged. Use one or both. So, this is interesting. There is some overlap. So, fingering 5 of caged, as Jimmy Bruno would call it, because you're starting on the 5th. Fits within position 4 of 3 notes per string. Fits perfectly within it. I get 2 extra notes. This particular string from position 5, 3 note per string, exists in fingering 6. Actually, these 3 strings exist from position 5. And this is position 6 of 3 notes per string. This string exists in fingering 7. But this is position 7 of 3 note per string. So there's some overlap. There's a lot of overlap. Use one or both. I would just say stick to one. It doesn't matter what system you use as long as you have a system and you use that system to your advantage and you to really get to know the guitar. Like, I'll play a lot of caged fingerings. Also play a lot of 3-note per string patterns as well. I've gone through the positions enough to where I'm at the place where I'm not thinking positionally. I'm just playing the guitar. That's the ultimate goal. It starts out, for my students, thinking formationally. The formations to build a position. And then, once they build all the positions, they're playing the positions. And after that, like with some tricky shifting exercises, if you know where all the notes are on the guitar, then you can play positionless. Like I was just playing the notes that I wanted to hear. I wasn't thinking about the position, wasn't thinking about the fingering. I practiced all of those things. I got a couple interesting questions. Somebody asks, I know if I'm playing E minor, A minor, I can play E. And then in parentheses, minor, question mark. Well, that depends. Are you in the key of A minor? Because if so, you can play E minor. That's also in the key of C major, which is relative to A minor. You can also play E major. If you're in the key of E minor, A minor also exists in that key. So, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but if you can play, if you're playing an A minor chord, 66% of the time you could probably play an E minor. Maybe less than that, because sometimes you'll be in the key of E major, and you play an A minor. And I also need new tuners on this guitar, I think. If somebody asks voicings, and I could give you voicings. I'll give you these. I've been preaching these voicings for like the past 2 years on the internet. Much longer before that. From the bottom up, 2213 5555 7988 1012 1012. There's some voicings. Learn those. And to get a little bit deeper into that question, if you understand how chords are built and chords are constructed, then you can build your own voicings. These are specifically drop twos on the top 4 string set, all the inversions. So A minor 7, root 3rd, 5th, 7th. They're also C6, root 3rd, 5th, 6th. I could put those same chords on the middle 4 strings. Could also put them on the bottom 4 strings. Same exact chord. I can do that with all of these chords. Down the octave. And then I could take these drop 2s, take my high E string, move it to the low E string, and the math works out that these are drop 3s. And then we can find like this chord on the next string set, because these chords span across 5 strings. There are only 2 string sets. Bottom set, top set. Top set, bottom set. Bottom set, top set. And then, what's this? This one. Could also take this voicing, drop this down an octave. That gives me a drop 2 and 4. And then we have those on the bottom set as well. So that's I lost count. 12, 20, 28 different ways to play A minor 7 or C6. And if you know what you can change in A minor 7 to make it say A7 or C7 or C minor 6, you just change the same note in all of the chords. So lower E, to E flat, you have 28 new chords. So those are voicings. I gave you like all of them. And I'll have a document with all of the 6 diminished scales in them. So, which is those voicings with a diminished chord in between. We have C6, C minor 6, C7, and C7 flat 5. Those are our 4/6 diminished scales. If you learn where all the chord tones in those are, you can get all the alterations and tensions. I take this C7, raise the 5th, I got a 13th. It's the same notes, but this one doesn't sound too good. That one sounds nice, but kind of sucks to play. So C7, 5th. This one sounds a little bit wonky, but it's a little bit more usable. all C7, C13, and C9. It was taking those basic C7 voicings and adding 13th or the 9th. And something very interesting. C7. Add the 9th. Oh, that's our C minor 6 shape down here. So this minor 6 is also a dominant 9th chord. If I lower the 3rd, almost consider this a 9th chord, but doesn't have the 3rd. So, do with that what you will. Learn how chords are constructed, and then learn your drop 2s, drop 3s, drop 2 and 4s. And then learn about the alterations and extensions. And we have got one more question. My analysis on the use of motifs and thematic elements in blues improv. This is a good question. So, I won't play through the entire blues progression, but I'll play a blues-like idea in C. Just going back and forth between C7 and F7. Let's build a little motif, just a small little idea. I changed it there a little bit. So I took the rhythmic idea. At first I was just playing these two notes and trying to find a good rhythm. And I found a good rhythm, and then I started changing the notes. So that's a great way to build a solo. Oftentimes it's nice to have like those fluid eighth note lines in between your motifs, and you know, creating a second motif like. Just another rhythmic motif. Play that over the changes. So I went into another motif there. I played some lines. I played around with one motif, moved to another one, tried to bring one back. So that was a question from my student, Ryan. And we can absolutely talk about this more in one of our lessons. And if any of you want to talk about this further, you can book a lesson, or you can sign up for weekly or semi-monthly lessons. There's discounts for that. Link will be in the description. This was a little bit of a long one, but I got to all of the questions. So, and there were some good ones, and even the ones where I was confused on what the question was. Like they were, I think there were still some usable nuggets in those. Anyway, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, join my Not So Secret Club, book a lesson. All those links in the description. Next week, Monday, I think we're having a guest. I think we're having Bill Wirtz at home, but if you lived at a Radio Shack, somebody called me Joe Pass at home, and I was never more proud. Like, I'm Joe Pass at home if Joe Pass at home was a little bit undercooked. But if I had the gall, I would change my Instagram bio to that. But Radio Shack brand Bill Wirtz, Kyle Schiefer, Jazzy Jellyfish, wonderful maker, musician, hacker, just overall smart, interesting, creative dude. We've been online friends for quite some time at this point. And I'm also saying this out loud, so I actually finish editing the episode because I hate editing, and I've been avoiding it by going into my workshop. Also, pickups will be for sale soon, and tabs, my tab store, will be for sale soon. That's all the stuff. Thank you for listening if you made it this far. Appreciate you. Bye.